Ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant day to all. It's my pleasure to welcome you here this morning. I would like to thank you for joining us for this very special event. To our APCO members and officials, officials of the Embassy of the People's Republic of China in the Republic of the Philippines, distinguished APPCU awardees, resource speakers, media friends, to our local and foreign friends and colleagues, welcome to the APPCU press conference or media forum with the 10 APPCU laureates worthy of accolade chosen for fostering amity between the Philippines and China. I'm Ana Malindog Uy. It's my great pleasure to moderate this media forum. As we know, in recent years, under the guidance of the two heads of state, President Rodrigo Roa Duterte and President Xi Jinping, the Philippines-China relation have witnessed a turnaround and realized comprehensive development, which is conducive to regional prosperity and stability, and is in line with the fundamental and long-term interests of the peoples of both countries. On this note, to actively continue the efforts of promoting friendship and understanding between the Philippines and China, and to enhance people-to-people exchanges, noting that amity between people holds the key to sound state-to-state relations, on January 16, 2021, State Councilor and Foreign Minister Wang Yi and former Philippine President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo jointly attended the inauguration of the Manila Forum for the Philippines-China relation and the launching ceremony of the awards for promoting Philippine-China understanding, or APPCU, via video link. The Award for Promoting Philippine-China Understanding, or APPCU, is a novel award-giving body that was launched early this year and was jointly set up by the Association for Philippine-China Understanding, or APPCU, and the Embassy of the People's Republic of China in the Republic of the Philippines. And for us to get to know more about APPCU, its objective, its purpose, and other relevant information about this newly launched award-giving body, the APPCU committee prepared a short video or audiovisual presentation about APPCU. On this note, let me call on Raven to play for us the short video. Raven?
Among countries in Southeast Asia, the Philippines is geographically one of the closest, if not the closest, to China.
Historically, the socio-cultural relations between Filipinos and Chinese can be traced back to ancient times. The first groups of people engaged with by locals and native inhabitants of pre-colonial Philippines were the Chinese. Filipinos and Chinese began trading as far back as the 7th century. We have our history to attest that as far back as the Tang Dynasty, long before the discovery of the Philippines by Magellan, China and the Philippines already had relatively close relations in material and cultural exchanges.
Indeed, the Chinese had traded amicably along the Philippine coasts for several centuries before the Europeans arrived in the archipelago. Even as early as 1417, diplomatic relations had already been established between China and the Philippines. Sultan Paduka Pahala, the King of Sulu, was probably the first Filipino diplomat when he sailed from the Philippines to China in 1417. Undeniably, the Memo of the Past tells us that bilateral relations between China and the Philippines already existed as far back as before the 10th century, and that the Chinese have not only traded amicably along the Philippine coasts, but had established friendly people-to-people relations and enjoyed time-honored friendship and cooperation for several centuries even before the Europeans arrived. However, it was not until the 9th of June 1975 that the official diplomatic ties between the People's Republic of China and the Republic of the Philippines was established. The 9th of June of every year has also been decreed through Proclamation 148 of former President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo as the Filipino-Chinese Friendship Day, commemorating the day that diplomatic relations were established between the Philippines and China.
Philippines-China relations are important. When I became president, relations between the Philippines and China entered a golden age. The continuing friendship between our two peoples enhances the mutually beneficial relations between our two countries and contributes to peace and harmony in the Asia-Pacific region. That is the significance of my presidential proclamation declaring June 9 of every year as Filipino-Chinese Friendship Day. Under President Rodrigo Roa Duterte, bilateral ties between the Philippines and China have reached new heights. The relationship between the Philippines and China is important. One major reason is geography. The Philippines and China are located within each other's backyard, so to speak. So good relations between neighbors is always a priority. A second major reason is that China is involved not only in bilateral dealings but also collectively, such as through the ASEAN. A third reason is that China's economy remains the most dynamic and fastest growing among the major nations, and soon it may become the world's largest economy. A fourth factor is that domestically, the Philippines has a vibrant Filipino-Chinese community for whom business dealings with China are natural. A fifth factor is that infrastructure will continue to be important for the Philippines in the coming years, and there is no country in the world that matches China's recent track record and capability in this area.
One of the instrumental and pivotal factors that help in the establishment and strengthening of the official diplomatic ties between the Philippines and China is people-to-people relations. The Association for Philippines-China Understanding, or APPCU, a non-government organization, NGO, based in the Philippines, was already active in promoting people-to-people relations between the two countries.
The Association for Philippines-China Understanding is a private association promoting friendship between the Philippines and China. I am Chair Emeritus of APPCU, which means Honorary Chair. During APPCU's formative years, I helped formalize and register it with the Securities and Exchange Commission. The first chairman of APPCU was Alejandro Roses, who was Secretary of Education of my father, the late President Diosdado Macapagal. In the early 1970s, when I heard that Chairman Roses was organizing a trip to China at that time, I asked him if I could go along. He invited me to join APPCU. APPCU was informally organized after China sent aid to Central Luzon flood victims in July 1972. And it was registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission in 1974. APPCU helped in the establishment of diplomatic relations between the Philippines and China in the sense that it was an advocacy group. As an organization, APPCU helps facilitate and strengthen Philippines-China relations by promoting non-government exchanges. Non-government exchanges is a key to Philippines-China relations. At the end of the day, the government is the body of the country, but the people are its heart. Thus, fostering exchanges at the people level, like what APPCU does, as opposed to the government level, is the natural way to create ties between nations.
APPCU is currently under the leadership of Chairman and Secretary Raul L. Lambino and its President Jeffrey Nam. APPCU as of now has regional chapters in Baguio, Cebu, Davao, Angeles City, and Pangasinan.
Over the years, far from the knowledge of many, APPCU has silently worked on behalf of the two countries through the efforts and contributions of individuals and organizations from the ground and the upper echelons of Philippine society in espousing a mutual understanding between the Philippines and China.
The association is very active in the conduct of the APPCU Forum, which is a platform for a constructive conversation on current bilateral issues among policy and thought leaders, experts, and stakeholders to foster friendship, understanding, and cooperation. The association has also facilitated cultural, academic, and visit exchanges, economic trade cooperation, and partnership.
We at the Association for Philippine-China Understanding, or APPCU, believe that we have good enough reasons to acknowledge the opportunities that such historical roots open to us Filipinos. It is precisely in this light that APPCU endeavors to foster and strengthen the ties between these two nations and two peoples, Filipinos and Chinese. As it is from the birth of APPCU, it is in the best interest of both countries that the Association for Philippine-China Understanding will continue to aspire and carry out its vision and mission. Truly, in fulfilling the mission of APPCU, it is my honor to present to you one of the initiatives of the association, together with the Chinese Embassy, this novel and newly launched award-giving body, the Award for Promoting Philippines-China Understanding, APPCU. I see this initiative as rather opportune in recognizing the industry and contributions made both by renowned and ordinary Filipinos in reinforcing relations between the two countries. Even in these simple yet sincere gestures, we hope to encourage more of our fellow citizens and instill in them a renewed appreciation of our Filipino-Chinese ties.
The award for promoting Philippines-China understanding is expected to help promote further the friendship between our two peoples. My wish for APPCU 2021 is that it will encourage the further work to constantly develop bilateral friendly cooperation, accelerate post-pandemic economic recovery, and inject new vitality into Philippines-China friendship.
APPCU is an annual undertaking, and each year there will be 10 laureates or awardees. Those who are eligible for awards are Filipino citizens who have committed themselves to the improvement and advancement of Philippines-China bilateral relations using their fields of disciplines and area of expertise, such as public service, media journalism, trade and commerce, and arts and culture and sciences. APPCU has 3 award categories. These are 1. Hall of Famer. Number 2. Outstanding Extraordinary. Number 3. Significant Major Contribution. The APPCU nominees undergo 3 rounds of selection process, namely preliminary or the elimination round, second round of judging, and the third and final round. The 10 awardees for 2021 will be given recognition in a formal ceremony on August 6, 2021.
I look forward to more productive years ahead of the award for promoting Philippines-China understanding. Thank you.
As neighbors facing each other across the sea, despite differences, China and the Philippines boast geographically proximity, culture affinity, and a long history of friendly people-to-people exchanges. This friendship between the two peoples needs to carry on, move forward, and be passed down to the present and succeeding generations.
Thank you very much, Raven. As I have mentioned earlier and as explained in the APPCU AVP, the two entities or organizations that jointly set up APPCU are APPCU and the Chinese Embassy in Manila. In this regard, the representatives of the said entities will deliver their opening statement on behalf of the APPCU committee, composed of representatives from APPCU and the Chinese Embassy. On this note, without further ado, please join me in welcoming our first speaker, the APPCU Deputy Secretary General, Mr. Peter Lavinia, for his opening statement. Sir Peter, you have the floor po.
Yes, hello everyone. Good morning. In behalf of the Board of Trustees of the Association for the Promotion of Philippine-China Understanding, we'd like to welcome everyone to this virtual press conference. Truly ironic that the pandemic has brought us into such a situation that on one hand, we are being called to separate from one another. But at the same time, we are also called to close ranks to fight this pandemic. It is on this note that we see the importance of having friends, ready to care and ready to help one another, not just among individuals, but among nations as well. The awards for promoting Philippine-China understanding is a joint project of the Association for Philippine-China Understanding and the Chinese Embassy here in Manila of the People's Republic of China. The award recognizes outstanding Filipinos who contributed towards awareness, understanding, friendship, and cooperation between our two peoples and our two countries. If these were the Olympics of friendship, we will have gold, silver, and bronze performance winners. With us today are APPCU officials from the embassy, as well as some of our winners. They are ready to give information and insights into our activities, and hopefully, we look forward to the successful conduct of this event. Thank you very much.
I'm sorry for that. Thank you very much po, Sir Peter, for that opening statement, a very warm one. Now join me in welcoming Councilor She from the Chinese Embassy in Manila for his opening statement. Councilor She, the floor is yours. Councilor She?
Yes,
Thank you po.
my mic is on.
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Honorable awardees of APPCU Award, friends from the media. On behalf of the Chinese Embassy, I'd like to welcome you all to this virtual pressure co-hosted by the Embassy and APPCU. Here, I would like to elaborate a little bit on the rationale and considerations behind the initiation of the APPCU Award. Here, I offer two angles, two perspectives. I think the first one is the historical perspective, why we initiate such an award at this time. I would say that APPCU Award is aimed at to inherit and carry on a fun tradition of friendly exchanges over the past centuries. As we all know that China and the Philippines share a millennium history of amicable exchanges. Generations of wise and brave predecessors initiated trade and people-to-people bonds between our two countries. If you look back to history, in the early 15th century, that's 600 years ago, the great Chinese navigator Zheng He and led a huge delegation, and his delegation made several visits to Sulu Archipelago and other parts of Southeast Asia, seeking friendship and cooperation. This happens actually more than 100 years ago, before the Western colonizers come to this part of the world. And during the same period, the East King of Sulu Kingdom, Paduka Pahala, made a return and goodwill visit to China. At that time is the Ming Dynasty. These are just two of the many extraordinary representatives. I can offer some more, like in the recent history, like the founding fathers of modern Philippines, Jose Rizal. Actually, his ancestors coming from China, And he and another Chinese revolutionary forerunner, Dr. Sun Yat-sen, who is also the founder of modern China, one of the modern founders of the modern China, they extended mutual help during their common fights against Western colonization. And there are more and more examples like this. I think if we look back at history, we will find that our two peoples have such natural aspirations to know each other, to develop friendship and live in harmony and peace. Today, as we should inherit and carry forward the spirit of our ancestors to continue this journey of mutual understanding and friendship. So that's my first perspective. So sorry. The second perspective is to meet the reality of our bilateral relations. During the past few years, under the strategic guidance of President Xi Jinping and President Duterte, our two countries have entered a new golden era and established a comprehensive strategic cooperative relationship, which has brought tangible benefits to the people of both countries and also inject positive energy to peace and stability of the region. As the interests of our two countries are closely intertwined and the people-to-people interactions are increasingly intensive, I think it's now the right time to launch APPCU Awards, which answers the people's aspirations and meets the need to jointly construct a closer China-Philippine partnership in a new era. As the Chinese saying goes, friendship, which derives from close contact between the people, holds the key to sound state-to-state relations. To that end, we need to raise awareness and reduce misinterpretation towards each other. In this field, we have, talking about state-to-state relations, we usually talk about the three pillars. First is the political pillars. Second is the economic and trade pillars. I think we have done very good on the first two pillars. The third pillar will be social culture pillar. In this pillar, China and the Philippines have great potential for cooperation. There are still much for the two peoples to learn about each other. And meanwhile, we have to admit that certain misunderstandings and differences, to some extent, is a hindrance to escalating, to promoting our friendship. And it's the right time for us to join hands to overcome such difficulties. A good example here is that talking about mutual understanding, the media plays a crucial role in this aspect. But I've been here for more than 2.5 years working here. I found out that it's very weird that as such a populous country, the Philippines with 100 million people, you have so many vibrant media outlets, but you don't have a single correspondent in China. So the media reports about China is all from secondhand, either from the Western media, Western news agencies, because you don't have a correspondent in China, so you don't have the first-hand information. So that contribute to many of this misunderstanding and misreporting, distorting news about China. A simple example is that this early morning, I came across a statement from a senator in the Philippine Senate. He said that he's criticizing the Duterte administration for buying PPEs, those personal protective gears from a Chinese construction company called the Xuzhou Construction Machinery Group. Wow. He said, why we purchase from a Chinese construction company? It's totally ignorant of him, because he doesn't have first-hand information from China. This company, this Xuzhou Construction Machinery Company, is not construction company. It's building construction machineries, but it's not engaged in construction. And in China last year, during the first days of pandemic, we are also sort of very in scarcity of PPEs. So a lot of companies in China, not only the Xuzhou Machinery Company, but also like a car builder, one of the biggest electrical car builder in the world, BYD in Shenzhen. a lot of factories, they immediately, transplant their own their production lines into PPE producers, So if you have the first-hand information, this is a very nominal, very normal phenomena in China, but unluckily you don't have. So the senator has such a misunderstanding. Anyway, finally, I'd like to congratulate the recipients of the first APPCU Award for their achievements in promoting the cause of China-Philippine friendship in various sectors, such as education, culture, media, social activities, and public services. Thanks to their efforts, Chinese and Filipinos could better understand and support Philippine-China relationship, therefore creating a good atmosphere for the continuous development of our bilateral relations. While looking into the future, I believe that the APPCU Award will build a new bridge of understanding and friendship between China and the Philippines in the new era. And I'm also optimistic that China-Philippine friendship will gain more and more popularity among our peoples. Mabuhay and salamat. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor She, for that informative and enlightening opening statement. Before we call on our next speaker, and given the fact that one of the objectives and purpose of why we are having right now a press conference or a media forum, it is but fitting and appropriate to introduce the 10 APPCU laureates of the Award for Promoting Philippine-China Understanding, or APPCU, for this year. In this regard, the APPCU committee also prepared a short audiovisual presentation introducing the APPCU awardees. So without further ado, I will call on Raven to play for us the short audiovisual presentation of our APPCU laureates. Raven?
From a list of 26 nominees received beginning the early quarter of this year, 10 individuals from both public and private sectors have passed the three-stage selection and judging process. Prestige, nature, and extent of their work are largely the basis for the identification of their respective award category. Currently, there are 3 categories for the award. The Hall of Fame category, which acknowledges the prestige and stature of the individual and the immense effort of work the individual has done over time, as may evidence by the extent of reach, impact, and reception of their work or works by communities and societies. The Outstanding Contributions category, which recognizes individuals of lesser prominence, but has nonetheless made notable contributions in promoting and strengthening Philippines-China bilateral relations, friendship, cooperation, and understanding. The Major Contributions category, which recognizes the works of individuals whose works have a growing reach and impact on the lives of specific groups or communities of people at the grassroots level. Henceforth, the Association for Philippines-China Understanding, or APPCU, and the Embassy of the People's Republic of China in the Republic of the Philippines are delighted and proud to announce the 10 laureates of the award for promoting Philippines-China Understanding, or APPCU, for 2021. This year's very first APPCU Hall of Fame awardees are former First Lady Imelda Romualdez Marcos and former Special Envoy of the Philippines to China and the Philippine Silk Road International Chamber of Commerce Chairman, Ambassador Francis Chua. Madam Imelda Marcos. Madam Imelda Marcos, also known as the Iron Butterfly, is the wife of the late Philippines President Ferdinand Marcos. She hails from the province of Tacloban, Leyte, and came from a renowned lineage of the Romualdeses. It is not a wonder then how someone with a beautiful face and considered a beauty queen can emerge to be a powerful icon in the country's history. Far from being a traditional first lady, Madam Imelda was a force in her own right. As it were, with her state missions, she was considered as among the few who were openly and attentively received by renowned leaders like China's Prime Minister Zhou Enlai and leader Mao Zedong, to name a few. Her passion for culture, beauty, and the arts were said to be one that greatly inspired China's Prime Minister Zhou Enlai and leader Mao Zedong, securing the Philippines' favor and support in negotiating not only for an important oil deal, but sealed the establishment of the official diplomatic ties between China and the Philippines on the 9th of June 1975. The other Hall of Fame awardee of APPCU this 2021 is no other than Ambassador Francis Chua. Ambassador Chua is the Chairman and Emeritus of the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, or PCCI. He is also the Honorary President of the Federation of the Filipino-Chinese Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Inc., or FFCCCII. He founded the International Chamber of Commerce in the Philippines in 2015 and served as its first president. In the same year, he was elected as Chairman Emeritus of the Employers Federation of the Philippines, or ECOP. In 2015, he was appointed as Vice Chairman of the Silk Road International Chamber of Commerce. In 2016, he established the Philippine Silk Road International Chamber of Commerce as founding chairman. Furthermore, Ambassador Chua helped FFCCCII obtained the rights to host the 10th World Chinese Entrepreneurs Conference and served as chairman of the organizing committee. The conference was successfully held in November 2009 and was highly praised by more than 3,000 Chinese businessmen who participated in the conference from various parts of the world. He also collaborated with the Fujian Normal University to establish the Philippine Institute of Chinese Language and Culture and was its first dean. He also helped the University of the Philippines and Angeles University establish Confucius Institutes. Ambassador Francis Chua believed that the Belt Road Initiatives, or BRI, is the sum of China's connections with the rest of the world and is the Chinese way of promoting trade, cooperation, and bilateral relations. The APPCU awardees for the Outstanding Contributions category are Philippine Association for Chinese Studies, or PACS President Dr. Romel Banlawi, Global Talk News Radio and Radio Pilipinas ang maestro host Herman Camentong Laurel, Kaisa para sa Kaunlaran Inc. founder Teresita Ang C., and the Director of Confucius Institute of UP Diliman, Dr. Lourdes Tanhueco Nepomuceno. Dr. Romel C. Banlawi is a professorial lecturer at the Department of International Studies at Miriam College and currently an adjunct research professor at the National Institute for South China Sea Studies. He is the president of the Philippine Association for Chinese Studies, or PACS, and a board member of the China Southeast Asia Research Center on the South China Sea, or CSARC. As part of his deep involvement in promoting Philippines-China relations, he offers lectures and talks in various fields and has authored more than 70 publications in high-impact journals, among which delved into peace education and the promotion of the Philippines-China relationship. These include the ASEAN Regional Forum, the South China Sea Disputes, and the Functionalist Option 2001, Southeast Asian Perspectives on the Rise of China, Regional Security After 9/11, 2003, Defense and Military Cooperation between Philippines and China, Broadening Bilateral Ties in the Post-9/11 Era, 2007, Southeast Asian Regionalism and China's Soft Power Strategy in a Global Age, 2010, Philippines-China Security Relations, Current Issues and Emerging Concerns, 2012, Functional Cooperation and Joint Development, A Way Ahead in the South China Sea, 2014, The Philippines, Security Options and Policy Implications, 2017, Duterte Presidency, Shift in Philippines-China Relations, 2017, Philippines-China Relations, Geopolitics, Economics, and Counterterrorism 2019, Benefits and Costs and the Philippines Paradigm Shift to China 2020, and Bilateral Consultative Mechanism in the South China Sea and Philippines-China Relations 2021. His recent publication, entitled Philippines-China Relations at 45 during the COVID-19 pandemic, New Discoveries, Recent Developments, and Continuing Concerns, exhibits a compendium of scholarly works across different disciplines commemorating Philippines-China relations at 45 amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. Herman Camentong Laurel currently serves as the host of Global Talk News Radio for Radio Pilipinas 1-738M and of Ang Maestro, The Unfinished Revolution, broadcasted by Radio Pilipinas or RP1. He is also the host of an online podcast, Power Thinks, of the Global Talk News Radio or GTNR, streamlined in various social media platforms like Facebook and YouTube, and one of the hosts of a television show, Opinion Ngayon, aired in Golden Nations Network every Friday. Camentong is the founder and director of the Philippine BRICS Strategic Studies, a think tank inspired by China's advocacy towards a multipolar world structure. He served as the host of Journeys, Chronicles of Our Asian Century that showcased developments in Asia, China, and Philippines-China bilateral relations, and offer analysis and news from Asian, Filipino, and global perspectives. Camentong is considered a major figure in Philippine journalism, reporting authoritatively to the Filipino public and the international community the factual realities between Philippines and China and the principled global vision of China to build a better world for all peoples and nations. His passion and conviction in promoting mutual understanding, friendship, and good bilateral relations between the Philippines and China are reflective of his writings and commentaries, which facilitate in clarifying for the public the truth about the South China Sea dispute that has complicated the diplomatic relations between the two countries to an inconvenient degree until today. Teresita Ang Si has played a significant role as a bridge of understanding, acceptance, and cohesion between Filipinos and Chinoys, colloquial term for Chinese Filipinos. Bringing about unity and cohesion amid diversity is an important task she has undertaken and continues to undertake.
Intramuros is very important to us because of the lessons in heritage and history. Siguro, in one line ng objective ng Bahay Chinoy, establish our rightful place in the Philippine Sun. Bukas ito sa public noong 1999, inilalarawan nito ang bahagi at ang impact ng mga Chinese Filipinos in all aspects of Philippine life. I wish that the Bahay Chinoy can be recognized in the whole Intramuros and the whole Philippine society. I wish all the visitors, the audience, regardless of race, regardless of origin, regardless of your religion, can be recognized as part of this nation and as part of this nation building and the history of the Philippines. Ako po si Teresita Ang Si, founding president ng Kaisa para sa Kaunlaran at ngayon ay executive trustee ng Kaisa Heritage Foundation na nagmamanage sa Bahay Chinoy, Museum of the Chinese in Philippine Life.
As an academic, she has served as past president of the prestigious International Society for the Study of Chinese Overseas, or ISSCO, and the Philippine Association for Chinese Studies. She has given lectures in local and international fora and written extensively on the issues of Philippine-China relations, ethnic identities, culture, race relations, integration, all with the end purpose of enhancing understanding and knowledge of such issues. Madam Teresita Ang Si believes in the credo, Kaisa, our blood may be Chinese, but our bonds grow deep in Philippine soil, and our bonds are with the Filipino people. She emphasizes that all her life's work has the end purpose of finding for Chinoys their rightful place in the Philippine sun. a true academician and esteemed public intellectual. Dr. Lourdes Tanueco Nepomuceno is a Filipino with Chinese ancestry who takes pride in her bicultural roots. Backed by her robust academic training and relevant professional, corporate, and international experience in both private and public sectors, Dr. Nepomuceno is a visionary in her own right. In 2009, beginning with her hometown of Angeles, Pampanga, Dr. Nepomuceno co-established the Confucius Institute at the Angeles University Foundation. Among others, the institute promotes an understanding and appreciation of Chinese culture and the teaching of the Mandarin language. In 2015, Dr. Nepomuceno was welcomed by the University of the Philippines Diliman to lead the establishment of the Confucius Institute. Over the years, Dr. Nepomuceno has built up many ties with government entities, city colleges, and universities, as well as the private sector, to the extent that the Confucius Institute at the University of the Philippines Diliman has now the broadest outreach in Mandarin lessons. In both setups, Dr. Nepomuceno holds the distinction of being the pioneer Filipino director. Dr. Nepomuceno initiated and advanced the inclusion of the Mandarin language in the K-12 curriculum of the Department of Education as a special program in foreign language. The program greatly facilitates the diversification of the skill sets of Filipinos that provides them headway in employment and/or overall personal development. The APPCU awardees for the major contributions category are the founding president of Peking University Overseas Students Alumni Association, Professor Jaime Flor Cruz, physician, lawyer, and international law professor at the University of San Agustine's College of Liberal Arts in Iloilo, Dr. Mario Leonardo Emilio Aportadera, president and editor-in-chief of SovereignPH.com, Adolfo Ado Paglinawan, and 51 Talk brand ambassador, John Nicolo Fernandez. Professor Jamie A. Flor Cruz is a veteran foreign correspondent in China. He was CNN's Beijing bureau chief and correspondent responsible for strategic planning of the network's news coverage of China from 2001 to 2014. He is a visiting professor at Peking University and the founding president of Peking University Overseas Students Alumni Association from 2012 to the present. He served as the chairman of the Fortune Global Forum, a meeting of global business and political leaders held in Beijing in 2005 and Chengdu, Sichuan Province in 2013, and again in Guangzhou in 2017. Professor Flor Cruz has reported extensively on China since 1981, when he started his journalistic career as a Beijing reporter for Newsweek. In 1982, he joined Time magazine's Beijing bureau and served as its bureau chief from 1990 to 2000. In addition to his on-air reporting, Professor Flor Cruz contributed regularly to CNN.com and wrote a weekly online column, Jamie's China, offering analysis about Chinese society and politics. Dr. Attorney Mario Leonardo Emilio O. Aportadera is currently a faculty member of the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences of the University of San Agustin, Iloilo. As a physician, he teaches BS biology courses such as human anatomy and parasitology, and as a lawyer, he teaches pre-law courses such as international law, political theories, and introduction to law. He is both a practitioner of general medicine and general law in Iloilo. In his article published in 2016 entitled "Balance Sheets Do Not Define Friendship," he discussed how the mainstream media biasly reported on the economic and trade relations of the two countries, the Philippines and China. He also wrote articles related to the issues of the South China Sea, explaining the intricacies of the issue while urging Filipinos and Chinese to have an open mind in dealing with a complicated issue like the South China Sea dispute. Dr. and attorney Aportadera also came up with a publication entitled Mama Had a Knack for Storytelling in 2017, where he shared and imparted the stories of his mother on how the Chinese think, being himself born to a Chinese mother and a Filipino father. His effort as an individual in promoting and advancing Philippines-China relations at the grassroots level is evident in his sensible observation and enunciated retort against anti-China and biased media reporting. Adolfo Quizon Paglinawan, or Kaado as he is popularly known, is a Filipino journalist, public intellectual, and business professional with extensive experience in diverse fields. Ado served as a press attaché and spokesman of the Philippine Embassy in Washington, D.C. from 1986 to 1993. Of his innumerable contributions and services to the Philippine society, it is his direct participation in the South China Sea debate that is most noteworthy and which likewise earned him the designation of an ambassador of goodwill. Furthermore, Kaado wrote and authored two noteworthy books. The first one was entitled A Problem for Every Solution, which for the most part is a situationer on the territorial dispute in the South China Sea, and the second book was entitled No Vaccine for a Virus Called Racism, which is a survey of COVID-19 implications from an international perspective. The youngest among the 10 APPCU laureates is John Nicolo Frederick Fernandez, also known as Teacher John Lucas, and That Crazy Fun Teacher, is a 5-1 Talk Teacher brand ambassador who has been on the platform for over 3 years. He creates videos about Chinese culture and collaborates on his video projects with his Chinese students. He is also very popular in China on his Bilibili channel, which has thousands of followers. John Fernandez has been traveling to China many times since 2019. In one of his travels, his team competed in Beijing for the SINA 5-Star Teachers Competition and clinched the 5-Star Teacher Award because of their unique and engaging teaching techniques. His warm interactions with students made him an active advocate of student-centered learning.
Okay, thank you, Raven. And again, congratulations to our 10 APPCU awardees. Moving on, join me everyone in welcoming Dr. Romel C. Banlawe, APPCU 2021 Outstanding Awardee, for an opening statement on behalf of the 10 APPCU laureates. Dr. Banlawe, are you there? You have the floor po.
Thank you very much, Anna. Allow me first to convey my deepest gratitude to the Chinese Embassy in Manila, led by His Excellency, my good friend Wang Xiliang, and the Association for Philippines-China Understanding, led by Chairman Raul Lambino and President Jeffrey Nang, for honoring us with this wonderful award. There's no doubt that this award recognizes our tireless efforts to promote mutual understanding between the Philippines and China. But for me, this award is very valuable as it acknowledges our struggle as Filipinos to take the path where only few people have dared. As a developing country under a young republic undergoing the painful process of nation building, the Philippines is still highly sensitive of foreign interferences. And as a victim of colonial interventions, China also shares this sentiment with us. But China is not so much understood in the Philippines because of our sad colonial experiences. First under Spain, followed by the United States, then Japan, all with strong anti-China attitude. And we inherited this kind of attitude until now. But prior to colonization, Chinese and Filipinos enjoyed many centuries of friendships. Long before Spain conquered the archipelago we now call the Philippines, Chinese were already trading with the Kingdom of Butuan, Sulu Sultanate, the Kingdom of Dapitan, Kingdom of Tondo, the Kingdom of Pangasinan, the Rajanate of Cebu, the Kiduatan of Leyte, and many other independent political communities in the archipelago. As early as 1971 AD, the history of Song of the Song Dynasty first recorded the Chinese trading activities with sovereign state of Mai, believed to be located in Laguna Bay or island of Mindoro. Ancient records of the Sultanate of Brunei also reveal China's robust trading activities with the Philippines and other Southeast Asian countries, particularly during the voyages of Admiral Xiang He during the 14th century. In other words, Chinese and Filipinos enjoyed more than 500 years of friendly, productive, and peaceful relations. However, for the past 50 years, the Philippines-China relations suffered bitter conflicts because of the clash of ideologies of the Cold War and post-war territorial and maritime disputes in the South China Sea. Until now, our two countries continue to have political differences on these issues. These political differences oftentimes cause Filipinos some anxieties, apprehensions, and worries. But these political differences are in fact not irreconcilable. They are in fact manageable. And as a student of international politics, I consider our political differences that are things that can be resolved peacefully by the two countries through sustained consultations and constant negotiations. That is why we need to promote mutual understanding between our two countries and even among our people in order to cherish our long history of friendship and peacefully resolve our current political differences. Promoting our mutual understanding, which is the main spirit of this award, can open many channels of communications that are essential for good neighborly relations to prosper between China and the Philippines. Even if our two countries continue to disagree on some issues, particularly in the context of the South China Sea disputes, we can still be friendly with each other. Our sustained friendship can create many forms of cooperation in order to advance not only our national and mutual interests, but more so the interests of the whole world. The Philippines and China have more to gain in cooperation rather than in confrontation, which for me is the main essence of this award. I'm very confident that this award can inspire others to traverse the path less traveled. More power to APPCU, more power to the Chinese embassy, and more power to the Filipino people and the Chinese people. Thank you very much. Mabuhay and sesye. Back to you, Anna.
Yes po. Thank you very much, Dr. Manlawe, for that very edifying and enlightening opening statement on behalf of the APPCU laureates. Now, ladies and gentlemen, friends and colleagues, we move on to the most exciting part of this press conference or media forum, and that's actually the open forum or the question and answer portion. But before I read the first question, because I've collected advanced questions from our audience, let me inform everyone that you may type your question and comments via the Zoom chat box. Kindly state your name and your organization po. Those interested to have copies of the speaker's opening statement, kindly signify your interest via the Zoom chat box and provide the APPCU committee with your email address and name. We will send the materials after the forum. Also, before we start with our Q&A, let me acknowledge the presence of our APPCU awardees who are with us at the moment. Actually, we have Madam Imelda Marcos, our Hall of Fame awardee, and also Ambassador Francis Chu is in the house. They came in. And also, we would want to acknowledge the presence of other awardees like, of course, Dr. Romel Banlawe, Mr. Herman Camentong Laurel, Madam Teresita Angsi, Dr. Lourdes Tanueco Nepomuceno, Professor Jamie Flor Cruz, Dr. and Attorney Mario Leonardo Emilio Aportadera po, and Mr. Adolfo Paglinawa and Mr. John Nicolo Fernandez. They would also be responding to the questions that will be asked for this media forum. So please kindly just write your question on the chat box and we will try to accommodate as much as possible. So for the first question po, since we have collected some questions already, I think the first batch of questions are addressed to our APPCU laureates. It's 4 questions in one batch. So I'll just read the question and I'll ask some of our APPCU laureates to respond. So the first 4 questions, we'll put it together. How does it feel to be one of the first batch of APPCU awardees? What does this award mean to you? How will you promote Philippine-China bilateral relations and friendship now that you are winners and are considered high-profile individuals by virtue of the award itself? What do you think is your role in the promotion of the Philippine-China understanding? So those are the 4 batch of questions that I think are very much interrelated or related to each other, no? So right now, Probably may I call on Madam Lu, and then will be followed by Cam Kaado, and then Professor Jamie Flor Cruz, and then we'll have the next batch, no, to express how they feel that now that they are awardees. Dr. Lu first, and then I'll call one by one. Yes, ma'am. Ay, ma'am, the audio po. Audio po.
Audio.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
It's okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
It is a great privilege to be included in such distinguished ranks as those of the other honorees. So this is a significant milestone on my 12 years journey as a pioneer Filipino director of 2 Confucius Institutes in the Philippines. So to APPCU and the Embassy of the People's Republic of China in the Philippines, my heart is filled with profound gratitude for making my efforts, contributions, and my accomplishments matter. So as an APPCU awardee and current director of Confucius Institute in UP, and these are focused on China's educational diplomacy platform. So I will envision the spirit of service that abound across various communities. So as the CI, or Confucius Institute of the National University, UP accepted the challenge of bringing together partners for multi-sectoral approach, meaning the civil society, the government and business, of which each sector has a different set of criteria, objectives, and working styles. And these partnerships, I believe that these partnerships will increase influence. They will lead to better public services and partnerships to ensure sustainability development. So leading Confucius Institutes amidst the current crisis requires a great deal of reimagination and reforms to stay relevant and meaningful. So in my capacity as the current director of CIUP, I will continuously add vigor to the great purpose of Chinese language education and remain at the forefront of educational and cultural diplomacy. Now, in President Rodrigo Duterte's words, I hope that the Confucius Institute at the University of the Philippines in Diliman will be more actively involved in sharing important knowledge that will guide policies promoting greater peace and security in the region. I commend the crucial role of your institution in the promotion of greater understanding and cooperation between the 2 countries. Your initiative towards fostering collaboration in the areas of governance, business, tourism, and education, among others, in an academic setting are truly noteworthy.
Thank you, Dr. Lu. Now, may I call on Sir Ambassador Francis Chua just to give us a short response to the question? Sir, just let me know if I need to repeat the question.
I would be happy if you could repeat it once again.
Yes, sir. How does it feel to be one of the first batch of APPCU awardees, and what does it mean to you to be an awardee, and how you will promote Philippines bilateral understanding and friendship, and what do you think is the role in the promotion of Philippine-China understanding, you being the awardee po? That's basically po the question.
Okay, ma'am.
Thank you po, sir.
First, I would like to express my gratitude for receiving this award. Although I never expect that I'll be given this award, nor I do expect that I should be given this kind of award. I know for sure all of you have been contributing much more than I am. But this much I could say, working to promote the relation between China and the Philippines understanding is not an easy task. If you look at the press, there are always the negative image for the Chinese. And for all of you out there who are trying to help, I know this kind of job is a thankless job. So for APPCU and the Chinese Embassy to come up with this award is something that all of us do treasure very much. Personally, I have been promoting Philippine-Chinese relationship ever since. In fact, most of my friends call me as a spy for China. And as way back in 1950s, 1975 and forward, I have been trying to help China sell its product in the Philippines to the extent that was blamed of bringing into the Philippines the second-hand dump truck. So these are the kind of the burden that all of us would have to undertake. All these years, the relationship between the two countries has been bumpy. It takes people like you who really go out of the way to really cement this road very well. Me, I have do my part, and there are more to be done because there will be more charges, black propaganda against China. And it's up to us to spread the good news, to tell people the truth. That's the reason why I established the Sea Road International, to bring the image of China, the good image, not only to the Philippines, but also to the rest of the world. I hope I have contributed there, but as I say, you out there, you do more than I am. Thank you, and maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Ambassador Francis Chua, for that response. We will give all chances to all our APPCU awardees. So I'll call them one by one, but I'll try to alternate. Now we have to ask Kaado if you can respond to the question po briefly. Audio po, audio. Kado? Okay, Kado, let me go to another APPCU just to fix your audio po. Okay, may I call on Professor Jamie Flor Cruz, sir, to respond to the first set of questions, which are very much related po. Yes,
thank
sir?
you po. Salamat. By the way, Jaime po. Jaime, hindi Jamie.
Sorry, sir. Jaime po. Thank you for correcting. Thank you po.
I feel like I have a soft spot for this award because 50 years ago, when I first went to China, we were hosted by the China Friendship Association with Foreign Countries, or YOXIE, which is the counterpart of APPCU. So all these years, I've been blessed by the chance to visit China, stay in China as a student, as a journalist, and now as a teacher. And I've been blessed by that opportunity, which changed the trajectory of my life and my career. Now, I'm just one of the many Filipinos in China who are doing on the ground this very daunting task of promoting understanding and friendship among our two peoples. I think they deserve as much recognition as I am getting now. I second Councillor Xie Yonghui's point that we need more journalists on the ground in China so that they can report about China quickly and truthfully. I encourage our Filipino peers in the media here to take all the opportunity to visit China because seeing is believing. And I think there is a lot to do on that so that we can interpret China, we can understand China, and help our public in the Philippines to deeply understand where China is coming from. China is very important, as President Arroyo outlined earlier. I can think of nothing that we can achieve or not achieve without China's cooperation and participation, from cross-border crimes, drugs, human trafficking, environmental protection. All these will require China's participation and cooperation to really achieve them. So it is important that we understand China and that we promote friendship with China, because the other option, to quarrel with China or to go to war with China, is not an option. No one will benefit from that. Let me start there. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Flor Cruz. Now, Kado, is your audio okay? Not yet.
There,
Okay,
there you go.
okay. Okay, sir.
Hold on.
Okay, po.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
It goes without saying, I am proud, as I am honored to be one in the first batch. I've always had affinity with Chinese friends, starting as a young student in San Beda to an old professor of history and geopolitics, as well as in business, profession, and various associations. Most of all, I felt it an acknowledgement of a concrete achievement. In my first book, A Problem for Every Solution, I started the balanced view that we have a common claim to some South China Sea features, and China has a conflicting position. In international law, this is called a territorial dispute. That was in 2015, when it was unpopular to do so. My second book, No Vaccine for a Virus Called Racism, made me the first journalist to present the impression as early as May 2020 that COVID-19 originated not in Wuhan, China, but in the United States. That's why, Anna, as far as I'm concerned, I feel there is more authenticity in this award. Thank you.
Thank you, Kado. We may call on Madam Teresita Angsi po to respond to the question, ma'am. Ma'am, your audio.
Okay. As Chinese Filipinos, I think because this award is Philippines China, well, as Chinese Filipinos, I think we are the best bridge that can enhance better understanding of the issues that divide us and promote that the issues that tie us, the ties that bind us together, are really more important than the issues that divide us. There are many ways that it can be done, and forum like this, awards like this, is one way of highlighting what we have accomplished so far, but also people-to-people exchanges. Beyond the efforts of our own two governments to promote better understanding, I think people-to-people activities will help even much more to have the Filipino masses understand the issues and understand the issues better, and also for China to understand where the Philippines is coming from. In 2013, when a group led by myself, Dr. Eileen Baviera, the present ambassador to China, Chito Santaruana, and Dr. Romel Abanlawi, we engaged all the top think tanks of China for them to understand that while the issue of the United States is important, it is not the be-all and all problem behind the Filipino claim to the West Philippine Sea. And most importantly, beyond the disputes, sailing beyond these disputed waters, there are much room for joint cooperation and joint development that could be undertaken. From the time of Deng Xiaoping, they have already emphasized that these disputes can always be set aside in favor of joint cooperation and joint development. But of course, China's growing assertiveness in the past few years has given much concern to the Filipinos And this is where associations like APPCU, Philippines Association for China Understanding, and CAISA can help in these efforts. And APPCU's awards like this can highlight these kinds of efforts. They talk about, for example, the Sulu Sultan's tribute to China. In CAISA 2017, we had a big conference and exhibit on the 600th anniversary of this visit, highlighting the Filipino point of view, not the China point of view. It's highlighting how civilized and how enlightened the Philippines was even during that time in the early 15th century, enough to sail across the South Seas to pay tribute to the Emperor of China. And all these things, these are small things that could be done by people like us in the people-to-people level. So beyond the bilateral discussions of our government, I think people like us, media people, cultural activists, social activists like me, can do a lot. And probably the APPCU award for me is just one of the impetus for us to work even harder to promote this kind of understanding. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mom Tessie, for that very enlightening response to the question. Before I go on to our next APPC award, you can respond to the question. Let me read comment on Herman Laurel response, because he has a problem with his audio, but this is his response to the question. The APPCU Awards gives a confident, smiling, and shining face to the Philippine-China friendship, fraternity, and cooperation. For a decade now, the image of Philippine-China relation had been beclouded by tremendous misinformation. This award is one step in the many efforts of APPCU and the Chinese government to blow away the sand from the public's vision. So thank you for that, Ka Herman, Kamentong. And then the next awardee that I would ask to respond to the question is Dr. Aportadera, Dr. and Attorney Aportadera. Sir, very brief po.
So the question is, how do I feel of after being named as one of the awardees? So I feel three things. I am emotional, I am honored, and I am challenged. I am emotional because I was nominated for the stories I interject in my lectures and share in my social accounts about China. I was nominated by former Dean of Education, Feli Campos, who is a colleague and very close friend of my late mother, Ong Gokil Teresita Onglatco Aportadera. All my stories are from the stories that were told by my mother when we were still children. So I would thread them along and make a coherent story along the line and share that, hoping they would promote better understanding, people-to-people understanding, Chinese and Filipino understanding. Secondly, I am honored because if I look at the list of my fellow awardees, they are very eminent and illustrious persons. I will always be proud that I am included in the first list of awardees. My name is now inscribed in the roll of laureates. So long as APPCU awards exist, my name will still be there as among the first awardees. I am challenged because I realize the still daunting task ahead of us to promote and counter mainstream media biases against Things China. Things China would include culture, civilization, the history of China. We are just across one South China Sea, and China never invaded us. Never mind Limao, he was a pirate, but it was not a policy of China. America across the Great Pacific, there was President McKinley's manifest destiny to re-Christianize the Philippines. So that is one, if we learn our history, we can have a better understanding of Filipino and China understanding. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Dr. Aportadera, for your response to the questions. I think we'll have, before Dr. Banlawi, since he did the opening statement, we'll have the youngest among the awardees, Mr. Nicolo Fernandez. Nicolo, Take it away.
Hi, good morning, everyone. So first and foremost, I'm grateful for this award. It's definitely a great honor and privilege to be one of the first batch of APPCU awardees and to be virtually rubbing elbows with everyone, with such great, amazing individuals. So this award means a great deal because for me, somehow it promotes peace among us. And in my humble opinion, the main purpose of life is, I believe, is to make life better for our neighbors. And I will continue to promote Philippines-China bilateral relations and friendship by doing more fun and informative videos to show that love among our brothers and sisters in China is possible amidst the things that we've been hearing. So that's basically it. And again, thank you for everyone, and ganxie daja.
Thank you so much, Nicolo. And then, of course, the last but not the least, since to respond to the question is Dr. Van Lawi, sir.
Thank you very much, Anna. Of course, I have mixed feelings about this award. First, of course, I feel honored because an award is an award. It's a recognition of your effort. So it is really very honoring. But at the same time, I have this cautious feeling of suffering the horror of being labeled as pro-China, as anti-Filipino, as traitor to the nation. But I have decided to accept this award because I want the Filipino that taking this stand and promoting mutual understanding between the Philippines and China is in fact an act of nationalism. Okay? It is an act of bravery because you are swimming against the popular tide. And I think as an academic, it is my task to continue promoting mutual understanding through a more nuanced, okay, more balanced understanding of our relationship with China. And I hope this award will inspire others who decide to remain silent because of being afraid of being labeled as pro-China. But this is not about pro-China. This is not about being pro-Filipino, but this is about promoting mutual understanding between the two countries so they can do more cooperation rather than confrontation in the bilateral relations. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Van Lawe. And then we'll proceed to the next question, which is a bit, well, what can I say? But, I'll just read the question. The question is actually from Mr. Wilson Lee Flores, no? Also a journalist, no? The question is, how can we help the Philippines insulate our independent foreign policy from politics, meaning how can we ensure stable, long-term friendship important countries like China, which shall not be victimized or sabotaged by some politicians or by our toxic politics? So this is a little bit political question. So anyone from our awardees and any Councilor She or Sir Peter Lavinia can respond to the question. So who will respond first po? Sir Peter, siguro kayo po, Sir Peter, probably you will be the first one from the organizer, and then this is much more a question to Filipinos, eh. So I think Philippines, no. So I think I'll ask Sir Peter to start responding to this specific question, and then probably to some of our awardees who would want to respond. Sir Peter.
Well, I think basically it was already mentioned a number of times. Very important is education and value formation. No? Having to deal with our neighbors as our friends. No? Of course, it's also important that we promote a merit system in our diplomatic corps, that we appoint only real professional diplomats, no? Less of political appointees. No? Also, we need all the organizations such as APPCU, such as the Philippine-China Study Center or whatever, the Confucius Institute, to really reach out to many of our policymakers. As pointed out by our friends from the Chinese embassy, even many of our top officials are hindi naman ignorant, but not knowledgeable of what China situation is. So it's really very important to continue our efforts to educate and promote understanding.
Okay po, one more because we are limited in time. No, I ask one from the APPC already to respond to the question. It's either Dr. Banlawe or Ambassador Francis Chua po. Sir, audio po. Sir, I'll
Okay,
repeat
ma'am,
the
please
question.
repeat. Please repeat.
Okay. The question again is, how can we help the Philippines insulate our independent foreign policy from politics? Meaning how we can ensure stable, long-term friendship with important countries like China and other countries for that matter, which shall not be victimized or sabotaged by some politicians or by our toxic politics po in the country. So that's much more the question po.
Okay, ma'am. Now, let me be very straightforward about it.
Yes, please.
We are a free country. We could not stop people from talking. And if I were a politician, I would have to know the sentiment of the people. The sentiment of the people is usually influenced by the press. If the press is loaded against Chinese, as a top-notch politician, it's very, very difficult if I would try to always support China. You could see what happened to GMA. You could see what happened to President Duterte. They always view it something that you are not loyal to the Philippines if you are too close to China. Press have create this kind of influence. And that's the reason why even the Chinese, they start castigating the China. So what I would suggest is that we would have to start getting the support of the press. If the press supported us, which is very, very difficult, it's rare to have people like our awardee who really, really work for the China-Philippine mutual understanding. It is a difficult task, and I could not say that it's achievable. We could only pray, and we hope that in due time, maybe not that fast, but I hope at the end, this effort could be achieved. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Ambassador Francis Chua. And then I will distribute the question po, no? Dr. Banlawe, I think this is also within your field.
Well, an independent foreign policy is a foreign policy that is not dictated by any foreign power. It is a foreign policy that is not dictated by the United States nor being dictated by China. It is dictated by your own perception of national interest. It is an independent foreign policy because you can resist any external pressures as long as it is consistent with your national interest. But for me, I would like to add another aspect of an independent foreign policy. An independent foreign policy is not only driven by your national interest, but also driven by your perception of regional and international interest. Because, you know, in a globalized world, you cannot just pursue your own national interests. You have to pay attention also and also give due regard to the interests of the region and in the wider world. And for me, an assertion of an independent foreign policy is based on your concept of national interest, regional interest, and global interest.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Banlawe. There is a question from our media friends, no, from DZMJ Online. The question is addressed to all our APPCU laureates. So we'll be asking some of our laureates to respond, no, for the limited time that we have. What are the challenges being a APPCU awardee in breaking the barriers of pro and anti-China sentiments in a Filipino perspective? This is from MJ Balaguer of www.dzmjonline.net. So let me call on Professor Flor Cruz to respond first. Sir, again, the question is, what are the challenges being an EPPC awardee in breaking the barriers of pro and anti-China sentiments in the Philippine context po?
I think among the barriers would be stereotypical or stereotypes of each other. We tend to stereotype the Chinese, and then the Chinese also do the same. And that's partly historical, but also it's partly the role of the media, the opinion makers, to cast away the old stereotypes of each other. That is one barrier that I hope we, the awardees as well as the public, could help eradicate. It also needs news literacy. It means, especially in this era of social media, it requires the public, our reading and audiences, public, to be smart in distinguishing what is true and what is not, what is misinformation or disinformation, and what is factual. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Flor Cruz. Ma'am Tessie, do you have a response to our question po?
Yeah.
Barriers.
I think it is not also entirely correct to say pro-China or pro-Philippines. We are always pro our Philippine national interests, first and foremost of all. But then we can also extend our best understanding and inform our Philippine compatriots, our kababayans, on what it is that the issues that divide us, what are behind this, and make them understand also and see the positive side. In China, they always say 讲好中国故事. So here, probably what we can do is 讲好 Philippine 的故事, let China understand Philippines better and vice versa. So that is probably what we could do. And then do not dwell too much on being, are you pro-China or are you pro-Philippines? We are pro-global understanding, pro-global peace in humanity. So we emphasize all the positive things like China's efforts in helping us in COVID-19 and help minimize the racism, the racist attitudes, and the infodemics that are being perpetrated because of this lack of understanding. So this is something that we can do rather than label. Are you pro-China, anti-China? You can be pro-Philippines but not anti-China, and you can be pro-China but not anti-Philippines. So as awardees, I think that is the best role that we can play, being the bridge that ties the two countries together. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Tessie. Kaado, you have a response, brief response po. Kaado audio.
I'd like to follow through Tessie's point and answer also your last question on the role in the promotion of Philippine-China understanding. I guess by accepting this award, we have become some sort of ambassadors of goodwill. And as we speak, we have to emphasize on the positive in relations between our two countries. In my writings for the working media, in my radio and television broadcasts, and of course, future books. For instance, in my daily show, I always remind my listeners, mag-aral ng maging maalam. Study always so you can be not just informed, but wise. On my part, I'd like to discover more roots and common ground. It has been mentioned earlier about our booming role in the old Silk Road in the 1940s during the treasureship, the relationship between the Ming Dynasty with Emperor Yongle and the Sultanate of Sulu with Sultan Batara Paduka. We have a common history. Our DNAs are interlinked. It is often said that Filipinos have 10% Chinese DNA. So regardless of politics, our two peoples will always be friends, regardless of circumstance. People around me now feel free to ask me about China, unlike before when it was something like nobody wants to talk about it. Many were not comfortable because China had always been pictured as communist. But China has metamorphosed. In the 1960s, it was just rising out of its own revolutions. In the 1990s, it was seeking its own place under the sun of democratic socialism towards the 2020 when it lifted more than 800 million of its own people from poverty, and now it's helping other countries around the world, especially the Philippines, to find its own development goals. Now that the nation grows and is still growing to becoming communitarian, more communitarian in its philosophy, the public has become curious about how it has constructively transformed the people's democracy away to contrast the liberalist West, and especially now as it reaches out to many countries that have been mired in poverty. The people-to-people initiative in the final analysis will have the last say. In the bridge that connects Intramuros and Chinatown, in the bridge that now connects BGC to Mandaluyong, in many more projects, in the Sinovac vaccine that is now in my body, in my blood, and in millions of Filipinos who have taken Sinovac and Sinopharm. These are not abstracts. These are real politics. And people who insist on promoting their own vested interests, be it in politics, in business, or in society, will do itself the big disfavor of not being part of China's shared destiny. I think it's very plain. This message will just have to be communicated to as wide as public as possible and in the most truthful manner as any journalist is dedicated to. Thank you.
Thank you. And I will call the last three APPC awardees to respond very briefly because we are the time, no, we're running out of time. And then I have one last question to ask specifically to Ambassador Chua. Ma'am Lu, and then followed by Dr. Apotadera and Nicolo. Very brief respond to the question po. Thank you so much. Ma'am Lu, the audio. Okay.
Yes. Academic relations with China have become a fraught and controversial topic globally. I'm sure you have heard about the backlash against Confucius Institutes in the United States. There were more than 50 Confucius Institutes that were closed because they were warned by the US government that they propagate falsehood about China, about the communist, the CCP is connected with what they are teaching to the students, etc. Now, our former Chief Justice Carpio said that Confucius Institute should be closed in the University of the Philippines and Ateneo because he said that they are propagating their historical falsehood about Naim Daslan. But this issue died down eventually because there was no evidence of the uses of espionage and no signs of curbing academic freedom at the Confucius Institutes in UP and Ateneo de Manila and other Confucius Institutes. In my 12 years joining, handling Confucius Institutes, I did not see any of these accusations. So this just disputes enmity. I am actually trying to diffuse enmity and skepticism in the University of the Philippines. As you all know, University of the Philippines is the national university. And they don't want a foreign entity to be built inside the university. So I am in the position wherein I have to curb and try to diffuse skepticism. And that alarmism, they become alarmist, no? And they have this sense of, creating issues against Confucius Institutes. There is a sense of panic and alarmism about the rise of China. And we proved them wrong. And we are already on our 6th year running Confucius Institute inside the National University.
Thank you, Madam Lu. And then Dr. Aportadero, brief respond po, and then Nicolo. Then we'll have the last question po.
How do I contribute to Philippine-China understanding at my level and the grassroots level? Let me stick to my storytelling. Stories share values, give ideas, and transmit information. Stories can also help promote people-to-people understanding. In this, I want to quote two quotations. First, by Claire Pathy of the Empathy Museum based in London. She said, "Stories have a transformative power to allow us to experience and in a different way than we do if we just encounter it on our own. Stories are an entry point to discovering a different experience of the world." There is another quotation, which is from the Hasidic Jewish Proverbs. "Give people an idea and you will enlighten their minds. Tell them a story and you will touch their souls." It's about time. It's about time that we address the issues not to the mind, but to the soul, not to the ego, but to the heart. Thank you.
Thank you. And last, Nicolo, do you have a response? Quick. Barriers to breaking the barriers from, this pro and anti-China sentiments in the country. Very quick. Hello? Your audio, I think, is not on. Okay. No audio. There's no audio. We cannot hear you. Technical problem. Raven, please assist so that we can conserve time. Raven?
He's unmuted already. I think there's a problem with his microphone.
I think, Nicolo, you have a problem with your microphone. You're unmuted already. If in any case, I'll proceed to the last question and then I'll go back to you. Kindly fix your audio first. The last question that I will read, since we don't have much time anymore and we are running out of time, is a specific question addressed to Ambassador Francis Chua by diaryongtagalog.net. The question is, as a seasoned diplomat, what do you think are the solutions to resolve the West Philippine Sea dispute? That's the question for Ambassador Francis Chua.
There are so many solutions out there. As many of our awardees, they could give you all perfect solution. One solution that I would offer is that we jointly develop that area. And in developing that area, I would strongly suggest that the biggest profit out of development should be given to the Philippines. China might not agree with me, but I would say at least 60% should be for China. If China increase it to 70%, it's even better. Let's not talk about who owns this. Let's not talk about this South China Sea, this is Philippine Sea or what. Let's talk about how are we going to jointly put our resources together and develop it to the benefit of both countries. That's my personal idea. I believe our awardees, they have much better idea than I. So thank you po.
Thank you po, Ambassador Francis Chua. Nicolo, are you okay to respond quickly? Then I'll have to. Okay.
Yes,
please.
my apologies.
Very good. No problem.
So again, in the 3+ years of teaching Chinese students online, and I also taught about 6,000 classes already. And you will surely come across a student who is, kind of a pro-China student. And as a teacher, you can only be patient, and little by little, you show them how we can be pro-people. So I by basically sharing things that I love from my own country and different countries and cultures as well. And I do it by showing that I also care about their culture. So that's basically it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, John Nicolo. Since our time is almost up po, we'll read we'll move on. But before the closing statement po, I just have a quick announcement for the upcoming APPCU virtual awarding ceremony, which will be on the 10th, 10 September 10. And this is already this Friday. That's 3 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. And I will just read quickly the press release for this virtual awarding ceremony po. Very quick lang po. And here it goes. The Association for Philippines-China Understanding and the Embassy of the People's Republic of China in the Republic of the Philippines take pride in announcing the formal awarding ceremony for the very first Award for Promoting Philippine-China Understanding, or APPCU, to be held on the 10th of September 2021, again this Friday. The said event will be attended by the Board of Directors and members of APPCU, led by its Chairman Emeritus, former President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, and APPCU Chairman, Administrator, and Chief Executive Officer of the Cagayan Economic Zone Authority, Secretary Raul Lambino, and APPCU President, Mr. Jeffrey Nang. It will also be attended by the officials of the Embassy of the Philippines, Embassy of the People's Republic of China in Manila, led by Ambassador of China to the Philippines, Ambassador Wang Silian, and of course, our honored 10 APPCU awardees with their families and friends. The virtual ceremonial rite is scheduled at exactly 3 p.m. and will be live streamed simultaneously on the official Facebook pages of the Embassy of the People's Republic of China in Manila, PTB4, APPCU FB page, and the YouTube channel of Chinatown TV. The said event will be hosted by singer, actor, and host Mr. Carlo Orosa and Chinatown TV host Ms. Luella Tan as MCs. Awardees will receive a trophy, a plaque of recognition, and a certificate. Prize money, on the other hand, will be given to each of the awardees for outstanding contribution and major contribution categories. So we will release our we will let it out later, the press release after this media forum, so that our media friends can have a glimpse of it, or can take hold of it. So now moving on, let me call on again our APPCU Deputy Secretary General, Mr. Peter Lavinia, for the closing statement. Sir Peter, you may take the floor po. Sir Peter?
Yes, thank you everyone. This is not yet our closing.
Yes.
Let me just put it as our recess, because we will be together again on Friday. Our 2021 awardees truly deserve these awarding rights, fitting to those we recognize for their work and contribution to forge better understanding, promote closer friendship, and more cooperation between the Philippines and the People's Republic of China. Incidentally, as you may have noticed, this project has been moved on a number of times. We wanted to hold it to coincide with our anniversary of the diplomatic relations between the two countries last June. And this was postponed because of the pandemic, and we rescheduled it last August, as the audiovisual presentation has indicated. But now, we see this media forum today, the coming ceremonies on Friday, as well as our second Manila Forum on September 23, as build-up activities to contribute to our preparations to send our congratulations to China for holding 72nd anniversary on October 1. To end, let me borrow from our youngest awardee, John Nicolo Fernandez. Let us promote peace and love. Maraming salamat. Thank you. Sheshe.
Thank you, Sir Peter, for that closing statement po. Well, ladies and gentlemen, friends and colleagues, our media friends, this is the end of our media forum this morning. Again, our virtual awarding ceremony will be on September 10. That's 11. That's 3 to 4:30 p.m. And we hope to see you there. And on behalf of APPCU, the Chinese Embassy in Manila, APPCU Committee, and the 10 APPCU awardees, thank you very, very much for joining us. We really appreciate it po. We wish you all a pleasant day. Again, we will see you on September 10. Thank you, Sheshe. Maraming salamat po. Long live the Philippine-China understanding and friendship. Mabuhay po tayong lahat. Maraming salamat ulit and congratulations again to our 10 APPCU laureates po. Maraming salamat. See you all on Friday po. Thank you. Thank you very much.